This is a video of critical importance for all audiophiles who own a loudspeaker or who are planning to buy one or get one or build one, and they want the right kind of loudspeaker for their room, because loudspeakers do not exist in a vacuum. It's not just that you flip open the absolute sound and you poke on the best one and that will be the best in your room. That's absolute that doesn't work in reality. In reality, what works is you have to choose the right one for your room and for your listening needs. If you are listening at extremely loud volumes, you will need a very different kind of loudspeaker compared to listening at small volumes. And the same size for same goes with the room size. You when I'm talking about bass reflex cabinets, transmissions lines and Voigt pipes, and mass loaded transmission lines, which is the right choice for you? And I think there were like tons of videos done on comparing the bass reflex is better than a Voigt pipe, or a Voigt pipe is better than a bass reflex, but people are just comparing a single unit in a single room and telling you that in my room this worked better or not. And then people think, oh no, I'm buying the other one, the one that worked for the guy the better. And then you try it at home, oh, it's rubbish, what's going on, I'm never really listening to reviewers again. So that's why my video now is of critical importance, because I'm giving you the knowledge base that you can use to choose the right kind of loudspeaker for you. And then it will be up to your intelligence and your smartness to find a unit that is built with the refinement that you need. Because if you watch my video and you figure out that a Voigt pipe suits your room the best, and you get a Voigt pipe and it sounds like crap, then the reason for that is because that specific unit was built like crap. Probably that will be a thing. So listening to my advice is not the stairway to heaven, it is the knowledge base. It is like putting on your boots, building your foundations, but it's up to you to put a house on that foundation. Foundations without the building on top, they don't work. So when you choose the actual cabinet for yourself, the type, whether it's a transmission line or a bass reflex cabinet, it will not tell you the entire story. Probably you already know that if you heard 10 different bass reflex cabinet, they all sound very different. So it's really up to you to do your homework, but at least you will know which kind of loudspeakers will get you closer to where you want to be. So now let's get into the details. And by the way, I have not introduced myself yet. I am Janos, and this is my channel about audio education. It is called Real World Audio, because I'm giving you realistic advice and telling you what happens in the real world with the loudspeakers. I'm not doing like like voodoo stuff or blurbs or ads, or like I don't want to paint things in a magical light or a sales pitch, because I'm not selling anything. I do not have any products to offer. I am not making money on my videos. I don't have anything riding. I don't have an agenda to push the videos in front. What I do have is experience and knowledge here, and I'm transmitting it to you, so you can perhaps be happier if you take it and help to build your system and get towards your dream. So all of these three different cabinet types, bass reflex, transmission lines, I could call them Voigt pipes, because Voigt pipe was the first transmission line created, and the rest sprung from the Voigt pipe, and mass loaded transmission lines, which is actually a kind of a Voigt pipe. But talk, why is it different? So all of these, they are came up with these different designs because of one issue: bass. So for a loudspeaker to produce mid-range and high frequencies, it's not a challenge. If you're a designer, it's not a challenge how to get sufficient quantity of mid-range and high frequency. Getting the quality, it's a completely different thing though, and that's, God bless, good luck everyone who tries to get high quality mid-range and high quality high frequencies. It's a major monstrous challenge, but at least with the quantity we have no issue. The bass, on the other hand, it's a monstrous challenge to get quantity itself. And getting quality bass is almost unheard of. And I would say 90+% of audiophiles, I don't think they ever heard quality bass. What we are hearing is the right quantity, hopefully, with a mediocre quality at best. I am blessed, or I would rather say cursed, that I have a pretty excellent resolving capacity in the bass for my hearing. That's not just something that I was born with, I trained my ears. But as a result, if I hear something, if I hear the bass, if the quality is not there, I don't care if the quality is there. It's actually, it's even worse. If you have high quality bass, like you put in a subwoofer, you crank it up, and it's like instead of a little garbage, you get a ton of garbage. No, that doesn't work. And I would really recommend it to everyone. If you are living in that situation, that turn your subwoofer down. Don't overload your brain with garbage, because it's just going to bust your ears, and you will not be able to develop a system that has proper bass, because you will lose the ability to hear it. So if you don't want to ruin your audio life before it even starts, just be very, very cautious of that. So now I'm going to tell you how you can get high quality bass out of your loudspeakers. And this is where the different kinds of loudspeaker designs come from. Number one, bass reflex. And that's the thing that we all know. It's a typical loudspeaker with a port in it. So the ported speakers, if it has a port, that's a bass reflex cabinet, or at least it looks like a bass reflex cabinet. If on the inside it's an empty box. So let me just draw it. So here is a cabinet. I will show it in a minute. Here is a driver, and there is a port in the back. So there it is. There's your cabinet with your driver and the port. This is how a typical bass reflex cabinet looks like. And what's happening is that the driver is radiating towards you. As the cone moves back and forth, you are hearing the mid-range and the high frequencies. And of course, if there are multiple drivers, each of them are doing something different, and you are hearing the highs from a separate one, the mids from another one. And if you have like a woofer, as the woofer moves, actually most of the energy, most of the bass that you get, that you hear, comes through the port. It's not the cone itself as it moves, it's not pushing the air towards you with the bass frequencies, because it cannot. The problem with bass is that the deep frequencies, the bass frequencies, have a very long wavelength. And that very long wavelength requires a giant generator to produce. And if you have a cone, even if you have a 20-inch monster of a driver, all it can do is like a 200 hertz wave. Below 200 hertz, it craps out, and it requires trickery from a cabinet to reproduce that sound wave. If you want to reproduce a 20 hertz sound just by pushing it directly with reasonable efficiency, you would need a cone of 8 meters of diameter. Like you need your entire living room wall to move back and forth to create a precise 20 hertz wave. And as you see, the loudspeakers are just absolutely tiny compared to the size of your room, compared to the size of those deep frequencies. So we need to resort to trickery to get those working. And one such trickery is that as the woofer works, so what it does, when it moves forward, it rarefies the air in the cabinet. It creates a partial vacuum. And for those of you who are vaguely familiar with the word vacuum, it's not creating a hard vacuum. What you think of as 8 elementary education as vacuum in the space, that's not any vacuum, that is hard vacuum. What vacuum is when we are creating vacuum, you are basically decreasing the air pressure. If you are decreasing it by 0.1%, that's already a vacuum. And that's what the loudspeaker cone is doing, is just creating maybe a 1% or maybe a 2% vacuum at best. But that's already a vacuum. And when it's moving the opposite way, then it's creating a high pressure zone. Even though it's just plus 2%, but it's already a high pressure zone. And those tiny numbers like 1%, half percent, it might not say too much to you, but for the driver cone, that's tremendous pressure. It's lots of kilograms of pressure, kilograms of air pushing against the cone. So it has like tremendous amount of work to do. And what's happening is when it's creating that pressure inside the cabinet, then that pressure can escape through the port. So the ports have a tuning frequency, which means that they let the energy through the port only if it is up to a certain frequency. So basically, it doesn't matter what frequency sound your loudspeaker is making. If your port is tuned to 50 hertz, then it's only letting through mostly the octave centered around 50 hertz. So let's say at 1 kilohertz, it doesn't let any information through. And at 10 hertz, it doesn't let any information through. So as you drop in the frequency, as you get closer to 50 hertz, the port starts to open, starts to let the built up pressure out into the air. And then as you drop in the frequency too much, then it starts to close and it doesn't let the pressure out anymore. So that's why the port is not a universal solution, and that's why you have to tune it. And that's where the compromise of the bass reflex cabinet comes up, that if you tune the port high, then you are aiding the mid bass. You have a lot of mid bass, but then you don't have any deep bass. And if you tune the port too low, then you have deep bass, but it's not helping you with the mid bass. So that's a compromise you are making. And why do we want to use this type of cabinet? What is the case when we are using it? The case is when we have a small room and we want to create a small loudspeaker cabinet. Then basically, bass reflex is the only way to build a cabinet to have a nice deep bass extension. And now you are saying, no, it's not the only way. We can have a sealed cabinet as well. But when you have a sealed cabinet, then that's this thing without the port. So in a sealed cabinet, you are using just that energy that the loudspeaker radiates forward. The energy that it radiates backward is not used. It's kept inside the box and it's pressurizing it. So there's a lot of pressure building up, and it makes your cabinet move even more. So you will have even more resonance problems, and you have to be much more careful about building, the construction of your cabinet, because those base energies that would normally leave out through the port, they are captured inside, wreaking havoc on the resonance pattern of your cabinet. Because for loudspeaker cabinets, the problem is not that they resonate with the music. They resonate at those frequencies which correspond to the size of the cabinet dimensions or higher frequencies. Because but the problem is when you want them to resonate at a frequency lower than where they are capable to resonate. And for example, if we have like a smallish cabinet, then the lowest frequency that can resonate, the that corresponds to the quarter wave of the height of your speaker, it's maybe around 300 hertz, 400. So if your music material has lower than 300 hertz material, then it's going to elicit that resonance that corresponds to the height of your speaker. And the more lower frequency material there is, the more your loudspeaker will resonate at the lowest possible frequency where it can oscillate. And that's where problem happens. And so when people like sealed cabinets versus ported cabinets, that's another consideration, that if you have an exact same cabinet, in when you use it as a sealed cabinet, then you are going to have much worse resonance problems with the cabinet compared to having a ported design. And also, if you have a sealed cabinet, it will have a different bass drop and different bass extension compared to a ported one. But all in all, with a sealed cabinet, you are losing 50% of the energy output. So it means that it will need twice the driving power to do it, and it will be 3 dB less efficient than a corresponding equivalent bass reflex cabinet. So that was just a foray, because I think that was one of the questions I was expecting. Oh, about sealed cabinets. Yeah, now you heard about sealed cabinets. So the problem, so the good thing with these bass reflex cabinets is that you can scale them down to a kind of small size, really small. If you look at the mini monitors or the bookshelf speakers, they can scale down to a really, really tiny size and have an extension down to 50 hertz or so, 60 hertz, and they are really happy doing that. However, and then that's a perfect scenario when you have a small room. So for a small room, you might want to use a small speaker or a smaller speaker, because that's another consideration, that if you have a smaller room, then the lowest frequency that can form in your room, it's much higher than in a big room. So basically, if you have like a 3 meter by 4 meter small room, or even much smaller than that, then you cannot produce 20 hertz sound in it. And even like 40 hertz, it's going to overload the room. And if you are going to put in big loudspeakers that go down that deep, it's going to sound like a mess. It's going to overload your room, and you will have the bloated nightmare bass. It's terrible. It will not work. But when you have a smaller speaker that has a frequency limitation that is compatible with your room, that's when you are going to live happily with it. So if you have a small room, then a bass reflex cabinet will be nice for you, because it's producing bass in a way that the port is tuning the bass to extend down to a certain frequency. And then when you choose your loudspeaker, you choose it to match your room. If you have a bigger room, choose a loudspeaker that goes down deeper. If you have a smaller room, choose a loudspeaker that doesn't go that deep. So I think this is a vital piece of information that you were not getting before. What everyone is saying, choose those that goes the deepest. If it goes down 10 hertz more, then you'll be more happy. The cat wants to come in. Kintaro is outside in the garden and he's like, I wanna come in. I think he has more to contribute to this video. Nelly is letting him, yeah, she's super nice. Maybe you can give Kintaro to me. And I can let Professor Kintaro. Wait. Explain about the base. Here it is. Here is Kintaro. So now he can explain or continue with the explanation. And I think he is telling us that it's 20 minutes already. If I run even a minute longer, I have problems uploading the video. So I'm going to stop for a second and continue with part 2, where we start talking about Voigt pipes and mass-loaded Voigt pipes, which is mass-loaded transmission lines. And I hope this was useful so far, and the main message is that in smaller rooms you want to use a base reflex cabinet that works the best for you. And let's look at transmission lines. Please like, subscribe, have an amazing, fantastic audio journey. Bye-bye.